Welcome back to the train room. In last week's video we got Dunnow Storage approximately half done. Stay tuned now while I finish the structure. Well, here is Dunnow Storage with the base paint colours done. First thing I did was to spray the whole building with a red oxide primer. I did the mortar joints. I put some brick red in all the window reveals. Unfortunately, Walters decided that the brick detail wasn't necessary in there. Hopefully by the time the windows are in, covering up most of the depth of the reveal, hopefully it's not too noticeable. Then I picked out all the concrete trim, and that task went on forever. As you can see, there is an insane amount of concrete trim to be painted. That took 2 whole evenings to do. There's a few places where I have gone outside the lines, but I'm thinking that once it's heavily weathered it shouldn't be too noticeable. As you can see, it's right next to the power plant chimney, so at least this end will be thoroughly covered in soot, this end not so much. Well, most of the painting is now done. This building took a lot longer to paint than I anticipated, mainly because of a huge amount of concrete trim, but also I had a couple of false starts. To start with, I painted all the doors green and I didn't like the way it turned out, so I stripped the paint off and started again. They're now going to be white. I changed my mind on the colour of the water tank. I think it looks better in 2 colours. I've still got a lot of weathering to do, but the next task is to install the loading dock canopy. Before I painted the canopy, I put strips of masking tape over the areas that are going to be attached to the building. So now I'm just going to peel them off. A little bit of paint bled under, but that really doesn't matter. There's still enough gluing area. I've got these little strips on here. I put these in with a square. I now have guidelines to get the brackets square. I'll need a little bit of touching up underneath the canopy with a brush, but not so much. But I figure I can do that without disaster. Certainly a lot easier than painting the whole thing in situ. And that is now ready to install. Then we go and get the building. Well, as you can see, I have done quite a lot of work since I last turned the camera on. I've got most of the components weathered. I've installed the windows and the roof details. The water tank is going to remain detachable. I think what I need to do now is give it another all-over light coating of soot. And that will blend everything in, because right now the window frames look too stark. With the warehouse interior, I felt it was necessary to add some lighting so I could actually see it, or more importantly so the visitors can see it and appreciate it. I just put a white LED through a hole in a piece of styrene, connected the wires and ran them through the corner of the building and through a hole in the benchwork. This slides in here. It's not actually fixed. The idea being that I can leave it a little bit long at the back, and as I put the building into place, the backdrop will push it as far as it needs to, so that it will still touch the backdrop all the way along and be a light barrier so that the top floor isn't lit. And I just pull the wires through, take up all the slack. I've left them really long because I'm not quite sure what I'm going to connect it up to. The method of attaching the interior is really simple. I made the floor out of 80 thou styrene and I added a 20 thou strip underneath it to give me 100 thou, and then put another piece of 80 thou styrene sticking out a little bit, and then in the back of the building there's a piece of 100 by 100 and then a gap, then 2 short pieces underneath it. So this piece along the front here just slides into that slot and it actually stays put. It doesn't need any attachment. Good afternoon everybody. This afternoon's project is to produce a signboard for the front of the building. I started by printing out several different variations on my computer. just so I have a choice and I can choose the one I like the best. Originally I was hoping to do a painted on sign, get it to look like it's just painted on the brickwork. But since I only have an inkjet printer, I figured there's no chance of being able to get it to stick without running as soon as it gets wet. So I'm going to do a separate billboard instead. Anyway, I have selected the one I like the best, and I have attached it to a piece of 20 thou styrene using spray adhesive. Now I'm going to put a raised border around it using scale 2x6 styrene. I was going to use 2x4, but I don't have any left, so 2x6 is going to be. Well, that took hardly any time at all. I've attached the 2x6 all around the edge and cut it out. I've gone over the styrene with a fine file to roughen it up a little bit. I'm hoping that the weathering powders will stick to it. What I'm going to do is experiment on one of the spare signs before attacking this, and if I can't get it to weather nicely, then I will just put it up pristine and claim that they've recently replaced the sign. Well, I've rubbed some of the weathering powders over this end of this sign here and on the prepared styrene, and I think that's satisfactory. It might even be a little bit heavier than I wanted, so I am going to go ahead and weather the sign using the powders and just assume that it's going to work fine. Well, I'm all ready to attach the sign. Just going to put it up here underneath the coping, center it on the windows, and then this building will be just about done. Well, it's the morning of the 26th of January, and last night I put the ground cover in around Dunnow Storage Solutions, and I'm going to call that building done. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. The light inside is a 12 volt LED running on a 5 volt power supply because that's what I had available. I will experiment with different voltages and see what effect I like best. Well, Dunnow Storage is now complete. I have thoroughly enjoyed this project and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks for watching.